Okay, welcome everyone. I'm Edwin Rutsch, Director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, and this is our Empathy Circle for visioning what to do, how to create a retreat center at the uh, 1964 Canoas, Las Canoas Road, the retreat center, which was formerly St. Mary's, and that's here in Santa Barbara. And we're doing a process for the visioning to just use the empathy circle practice, which is a practice that supports mutual listening and dialogue and just mutual understanding. And as director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, it's the best sort of gateway practice I know of for fostering empathy. And so what we're going to do is just get started with introductions. Everyone just introduce yourself, your name, your location, and kind of why you're interested in this, taking part in this. And as mentioned, I'm Edwin Rutsch, the director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, and been working for about 15 years on how do we raise the level of empathy in society. And my brother Charles purchased this this space, formerly St. Mary's Seminary. And so it asked me to maybe manage it. And so kind of looking at the possibilities here, where I'm actually in the space right now. So Charles, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Charles Rudge. I bought the property at auction. I have a wife and 4 children. We live in Carmichael, California, right next to Sacramento. That's about it.
Yeah, and Todd?
Sure. I'm Todd Lowenstein. I am live in the area, live on Mount Calvary Road. You just referenced that across from your property, and was very interested into finding out what was the ultimate plan for the property. And when my wife and I heard that you guys were doing some interesting things and outreach to the community and thinking through a lot of interesting issues, definitely piqued our interest. Been in Santa for 12 years. Have a history here, went to school here in the 80s, met my wife there. So we've been back and forth and ultimately landed here. But it's a great community. I think you'll find a lot of great resources and people interested and cross-pollinate, a lot of interest in lifting people up and solving problems. So hope that helps.
Yes, yeah. Thanks for joining us, Todd. Christian?
Hello, my name's Christian Cardenas. I'm a soon-to-be first-time father, Canoa staff member. I do the yard maintenance here and caretaker here with my family. We've been doing that my dad has for 20 plus years. I've been doing that for 10 years. The previous owner asked us to be the caretakers here, watch it 24/7, clean it up, do that. So that's basically what we're doing here. And I've lived in Santa Barbara half of my life in Ventura. But I'm here mostly all the time, so I have a good outreach with, I'd say, Ventura and Santa Barbara communities.
Oh, great. Thanks, Christian. And so we're going to use the empathy circle practice. In this process, there's a speaker who will talk on the topic of what's your vision for the retreat center here at the property. And you can also talk about anything that's up for you, anything on your mind. So it doesn't have to be just on that topic. It's just whatever you feel energized to speak about. So you got free speech. Say anything you want. Ask any questions. As pointed as you want. There's no limits on what you can say. And then what you do is you select the person you're going to speak to. And then you share an idea or so. Maybe it takes about 45 seconds to a minute, and then you pause, and then the listener reflects back their understanding of what you've said, and you check, did that person understand it? If they didn't, you can say it again, maybe in other words, until you feel heard and understood to your satisfaction. So the point is to really feel that the person you spoke to understood you. And this is basic active listening. If you've done any sort of active listening processes, this is what we're doing, but it's in a group context. And then once, I'll keep time. We'll have about 4 minutes. We may raise that time limit per person. And then once that you're complete, I'll keep time and maybe wave a clock or something like that, or say something about time if you go over time. Then it becomes at that point, or if you run out of things to say, just say I feel fully heard, and that means that the listener will then become the speaker, and you select someone to speak to and do the same process. We'll go around we'll kind of get a sense of how long to go, maybe an hour or so with this process, and then we'll just kind of open it up for just general discussion without reflections. So with that, who would like to be the first speaker? And I'm glad to be the first listener, just to sort of model the process. And sorry, I feel a little tired. Yesterday we were moving furniture for hours, and it's like my whole body sort of aches from all that furniture moving. So I feel a little, a little tired, but just give you that heads up.
That's a full body motion.
You're breaking up a little bit, so we have maybe low bandwidth here, so I may turn my video off sometimes. So Todd, you want to be the first speaker? You were starting to speak. I didn't hear what you were saying. So if you want to say that again.
Oh, I was just saying moving furniture is a full body workout. Don't underestimate that. It was just being a failed attempt at humor there.
Okay, so you're saying, just to model it, you're saying that it's a full-bodied workout, and you're just kind of trying to make a bit of a joke, yeah.
Moving furniture, it is. It's not to be underestimated.
Yeah, go ahead. Whatever's on your mind, I'm listening.
Oh, yeah, I guess I'll go right into my interest level. From doing a little reading on you and discussing with my wife, she is attending one of these circles too. It's just, I was very interested in a platform or a format to just sort of expand mindfulness around just solving societal problems, community problems, even personal problems. I feel like I think a lot of us have become more isolated over time because of technology, because of a host of reasons. And I feel like getting reconnected with people, especially people in your community, to help solve problems is very, very important. Oftentimes we look for authority to solve problems or hire experts, but in reality, I think we have it within us in our community to band together to help achieve those things. So to the extent that can happen, and we can get over some of those stumbling blocks, whatever the issue is. It could be things like crime right now is at peak levels here in the city. It could be better understanding and be able to listen to people and bridge the political divide.
Can I pause you there and get just to reflect? So I'm hearing that you really want to bring people together, seeing the possibility of bringing people together to connect and to start solving some of the social problems together without waiting for an authority figure to take the role. That you seem to have some excitement or interest in coming together to bridge like political divides, the crime issues around crime. So how do we kind of work together to have constructive, process direction?
That's right. Yeah, I would say that's exactly right. And so just empower us to solve problems and not look to experts and authority to get that done. So I'm very interested in that. To the extent anything can empower that, it sounds like this sort of format could do that. So I'm very interested and curious about it.
So you're very interested and curious about this process, this empathic listening process, that maybe that can help with bridging those personal divides.
Yeah, I think it begins with listening. I think listening is the first step in the process. So to to truly hear what the issue is, and bring people together. I've used other formats. It's interesting just to compare. I've hosted what's known as Jeffersonian dinners. I don't know if you've heard of those, but it's very similar to the approach you use, where one person speaks, everybody listens, and you can't talk. There can't be compete talking. You have to actually listen. And the idea is you build something together. You reveal things. You reduce your blind spots. You have better understanding by having that patience and that listening skill, because that's a muscle that's atrophied, I think, in society writ large over time, and we need to rebuild that muscle. And that's a great format too. It's an interesting format, and it sounds very similar to what you're doing.
So you've seen other dialogue listening formats. You see the core is listening, and this Jeffersonian approach you found was very helpful.
Yeah, and we used it as a platform for political issues. So we used it. I brought a group of people. It could be 10 to 16 people. We would talk about things like homelessness. We would talk about things like how to solve a homelessness problem, climate change, just all sorts of controversial topics, but getting people from all across the political divide together to hear the issues as they see it, to peel back the onion, so to speak, and what the root sort of core issue is, and then try to frame a way to go about solving the problem or doing outreach. And then I think it promotes better understanding of each other. And you hear people actually have conversations, which is much needed, I think.
You're just saying the importance of conversations, people listening to each other, and you've done these groups before too, and it sounds like you found them just very helpful. And so you're kind of looking for more practices like this.
I've done just my own personal experience. I've done some things. I've moderated a political debate here in Santa Barbara before for, county supervisor. So I've done things where we try to bring candidates together and have a real conversation. It's not about just them, one versus the other. It's about, let's get together and solve the community's problem. What is your view on this? What is your view? And can you somehow handicap things and find common ground? I find in my personal experience, I feel like most people, there's this antagonist sort of mentality. There's this protagonist, antagonist. And instead, you find out actually both sides are actually trying to solve the problem. They're approaching it very differently. And because things are different, people get opposed to it, and they shouldn't. Most people have actually genuine good interest in solving problems, just maybe a different way of going about doing it. So I think once you can bridge that, you actually can get to the other side of things and the promised land of fixing all the problems around us.
Yeah, so it's really if people kind of can hear each other, they can work together and start fixing those problems, and the differences aren't as big as we might think they are.
And they're magnified by I think you nail it on the head right there. And they're magnified by other factors. A lot of things. One of the things I've done too, I taught at UCSB. I taught as an adjunct professor, of course, on behavioral finance, which is really about cognitive biases we have, and we bring all these cognitive biases into these conversations. And these are about unforced errors we make and how we undermine ourselves oftentimes in our decision making. So to the extent we can be more self-aware, have more empathy, that's going to help you to, again, bring people together and weave the societal fabric tighter together. Right now it's too loose, it's frayed. We need to do a better job of fixing that.
So you're really saying, I think maybe it's be more self-aware, maybe less judgmental, or be aware of our judgments. And
yes.
And you taught these kind of skills at the university, so you have a background with that. And that was the 4 minutes. So
just to add one more thing.
It'll come back around. It'll
okay.
come back around. We're going to have multiple rounds, so I just wanted to keep us on time. And I see we just have someone join us.
Yeah, it's me. Let me get unmute.
If you just want to,
I am unmuted.
If you just want to quickly, just your name, your location, and then I'm going to be speaking, and then you can sort of watch the process, and you'll see how it works. Do you want to just introduce yourself?
Certainly. My name is Dominique Corral. I own property on Las Canoas, or off of Las Canoas. I have had it I grew up there. I currently am residing in Utah, but I go back and forth. So between Santa Barbara and Utah. And I have used St. Mary's Seminary. I'm not sure what you're going to be calling it, a lot in the past. As a child, they would let us use the gymnasium, use the tennis court or the half court and bounce against the wall. And people have used the trails on I can't remember how many acres it is, 65 acres or something like that, or 75 acres. It's a beautiful piece of land. Welcome. And yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. So, I'm going to be speaking to Christian next, and then we take turns who we speak to, and you can sort of observe, and we're using that empathy circle process. So I'll speak to Christian, and I'm just starting the timer, doing 4-minute turns. And I'll just say that I'm really grateful Todd is here, and just his background, because it just so resonates with what our center, our empathy center, is about. It's really about bringing people together, just hearing each other, and everybody is welcome to share.
So what I'm hearing is that you're grateful that Todd has a background in this sort of thing, talking and bringing people together, and you're excited for the opportunity we have right now to talk.
Yeah, and we do political work. I've gone out to political rallies. We have something called the Empathy Tent that we have. I live near Berkeley, California, which is a very liberal space. We had when Trump was elected, we had a political right come to the parks there and demonstrate for free speech. We had counter demonstrations with Antifa, had knockdown, drag out fights. I mean, physical fights between the sides. And in our empathy tent, we offered listening to both sides, and we did empathy circles like this at the tent between the sides.
So you did political meetings at UC Berkeley and brought two sides together just by talking and being open with one another about your problems and trying to come up with solutions.
And it's there's also a documentary called Trump Phobia: What Both Sides Fear. We were down in LA, did the same thing at rallies, political rallies there. We had the political left and political right in these circles. And at the end of the discussions, and it was actually on the lawn of the city hall where we were holding these, because there was rallies, around there. And we actually had the participants giving each other hugs after the empathy circle that we would do. And on the other side of the street, they're screaming and yelling at each other and ready to beat each other up.
Right. So it kind of broke up a little bit. But what I got is that you were holding meetings and there was people on one side hugging each other and the other side fighting, and I'm sorry, but that's all I heard. It
Yeah,
broke
that
up.
was.
Yeah,
I might turn my camera off periodically just for a bandwidth issue if
it
it's
works.
okay.
That's when that happens.
So it's the same thing. What we're trying to do here, hopefully we can do here at the Canoas Center, is support the community. We're trying to have empathy, mutual empathy, be a primary social value. And when I mean empathy, I mean deeper listening. It's really about everybody listening, having free speech, but also listening to each other.
Right. So what you're trying to do here at the retreat and the community is just to have everybody have empathy for each other and listen to each other and have a place to talk and communicate and get together and solve problems.
And it can have multiple, spaces. Like you have city council, meetings, and it may be one person speaking, and they get a little chance to speak. But can you have the community listening to each other in small groups and sort of practicing and learning these listening skills, or can there be like a school board where instead of sort of yelling at each other, which is currently there's a lot of that going on, is bring the sides together in small groups where they can listen to each other and learn and deepen those listening skills.
Right. So what I got is that what you're trying to say is bringing town hall meetings and school meetings to the here in the property to have a way to communicate in an empathetic way, like how you do.
Yeah, I feel fully heard.
Cool. Okay, so it's my turn, right? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Select your
Okay,
listener.
so I will pick Dominique.
Oh,
Right?
I spoke already, but yeah.
No,
Okay,
it's
Okay.
like he will. Do you want to just speak to Charles so he can model it, because Dominique hasn't
Okay.
seen it,
Yeah, okay.
and then
I'll
Charles will
speak to
speak
Charles.
to you.
Thanks,
Just so you can see it how we're
Right.
doing it. So go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so when I heard that the property was being bought, it made me nervous because I didn't know what was gonna happen. But meeting both of you, it's like I feel that you guys are good people and have a good sense of community and stuff and really want to help. And making this back into a retreat center is really like it's cool because I've worked here for 15 plus years almost, and being here as a little kid, everybody, retreat center, old folks, kids, youths, married couples, singles would just come here, and I heard that you were trying to do that again, so that made me
Okay.
really happy.
So what I hear you saying is that when you heard it was being sold, it made you nervous because you didn't know who the buyer was or what their intentions were. But when you met us, it kind of put some of those fears at ease. And you are glad that our goal is to turn it into a retreat center because you've been here for, I don't know, at least 10 years. When you were a boy, they were holding retreats here and doing things in the gym and so forth. And
Yeah.
so kind of bringing back those days, and you're glad to see that.
Yes, and the gym was a big part, but honestly, I do feel that it could be used in a better sense. I'm not sure if you plan on keeping it, but maybe if you were to add some bleachers there, we could throw some events, like some kid cheerleader events or some competitions, hold events there, you know. I think that would be a good idea of the space, because right now it's a big space, but it's a wasted space. When there was kids there, it was just using one side of the basketball court, and I think that would be a good idea there.
So you think it would be good to add some bleachers in the basketball court so that some events could be held there?
Yeah, there's like pull out bleachers just in case you wanted to use, more of the space. And I really like the idea that Todd set out. He sits down and talks over dinner. I feel like that could be, because we have the full kitchen right here. I feel like that could be a good use of a space, have a dinner and talk things out.
So you believe that a pull-out bleachers would be a good idea, and you also like Todd's idea of discussions over dinner. There's a kitchen here in the dining room, which would be
Right,
a
right.
good use for that.
And I love the idea of having like PTO meetings here and stuff like that, just because it does get wild in those things, and it would be nice to have like a mediator there to just you talk now and you listen and stuff like that. I think what you guys are doing is really swell. Like it's gonna be I feel like this place will be back up and running and even better than it was before.
So you believe this space might be good for PTO meetings. I'm not quite sure what a PTO meeting is.
Or maybe I'm
But
saying it wrong.
You mean
Sorry,
parent
sorry.
teacher
Yeah. Parent teacher
organization? Yeah.
conference, stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah, it might be a good space for community groups to get together and talk in some of the meeting rooms.
Right, yes.
So that would be a good use for it.
Yeah. And uh I feel fully heard right now, yeah.
Okay. I'll speak to Dominique since you haven't participated yet.
Oh yeah, I have. I'd love to give more opinion because
Okay.
well,
Hey, for Dominique, the process is Charles is going to speak to you. He's going to share, for
okay.
about 45 seconds, and then he'll pause, and then you reflect what you heard him say to his satisfaction. Then he'll say some more, and then you reflect.
Okay, so paraphrase him, basically.
Exactly.
Okay, beauty.
So I guess I'll tell a little story of how I came to buy it. A friend of mine mentioned it was up for sale at an online auction site. Go ahead and reflect then.
This is kind of funny how I found out about it. I knew it was for sale over the years, and it was a shame that it was over for sale.
Dominic, you just want to say exactly what you heard Charles say.
Okay, Charles, what I heard you say is you found out through a friend that this property was up for sale, and I believe there are no coincidences in life. So I think it's beautiful that happened. And
So Dominic, you don't want to add anything. Just say what you heard him say, and then he'll say some more.
what I heard you say is you heard that the property was for sale, and I think you said it would be a good fit for your goals.
Yeah, I always enjoyed retreats and youth camps when I was younger.
So did I. So you enjoyed youth camps. I look forward all school year to get away in the summertime.
Yeah, so that was kind of nostalgic for me. So I bid a few times, and then I stopped bidding. But then it said, next bid meets reserve. So I thought, well, I'll bid one more time, and then I won the auction.
So it sounds like that you were kind of in conflict of you were bidding and then you gave up and somehow you re-engaged, and here you are.
Yes, so it's a little overwhelming, but I've asked my brother to help me kind of manage things, and other people in the community in Santa Barbara have reached out. And so I feel very supported in the idea of turning it into a retreat center.
It sounds like it. You said, what I heard you say is it was a bit overwhelming, and yeah, I can't imagine. And it's wonderful that people have offered their help and their support. I guess the future will tell in what ways they will help and give you support.
Okay, I feel heard. It's your turn, Dominique. You can choose who you're speaking to, and they will reflect.
Okay. Yeah, somehow I lost pictures here. I'm afraid if I log out, I might come back in. But Star Wars. I'm not but I remember the Star Wars.
Christian, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, when you were talking, it popped in my head, and I think it was somebody else said something about people from different sides getting together, and there was a quote at one point, and I'm just going to share that quote because I love this quote, is the cure to offensive speech is more speech. And having a retreat in Rattlesnake Canyon will be beautiful because Mount Calvary burned in the Thomas fire, and there's been a void in that canyon for a while.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you like the idea that somebody said about conflict being here, and you heard a quote, and the Thomas fire burned down everything, so you love the fact that this is still here and that it's going to turn into something.
Yes, and I'm not in Santa Barbara right now, but I was there last week, and I saw that the gate was open for the first time in a long time. And that in and of itself, for me, was, I didn't walk up the road, this super steep road, but that in and of itself was a nice gesture. I don't know if it's open up today, but just having that temporary fence open is nice. And it says something about you folks.
So what I'm getting is that it really excites you and makes you happy that the gate is open and that if finally something is being done to the place to open it up to the public again.
Yes. Yes. And I'm looking forward to maybe helping. I don't know how I could help, especially in the next ensuing year. I'm a little bit overwhelmed with what I'm doing in my personal life, but I'll take on anything. And I just see opportunity. I see positiveness in this, and we as a country, we as a world could use more empathy, and we need to listen more to each other, listen to understand, not to critique. And so I see that as a wonderful step forward, and it's about time, not with you folks, but it was about time the universe has had something happen with that property.
So you're just happy that it's open to finally people to understand each other and have a place to talk, and that the universe brought it open again.
Yes. Or God, if you believe in God.
All right.
Okay, if you're fully heard, then it's Christian's turn, unless you had,
Yeah, I believe him.
okay.
Fully heard.
Well, don't really know what to
Select your
say.
listener, select
Oh,
your
right,
listener,
right.
maybe
I'll
Todd,
select
who hasn't
Todd because,
reflected yet.
yes. So when Dominique said that the gate was open, that also brings me joy because when I was here, I would, there would be groups of people that would walk up the hill and say hi to everybody, and some senior ladies would come up and say hi to me. So it is nice to just have this place finally open and stuff being active in here and something getting done.
Hey, Christian, if I heard you right, you're obviously very excited about the reopening process and the symbolism around the gate opening, because that just sort of opened new channels for connection and contact and seeing people again, people embracing the property, and maybe because it had been dormant for some time. So that's what I heard.
Yeah, there is a worry of people that sleep in their cars outside the property, but so far everything has been okay. And I feel like once the traffic picks up, that'll be less, it won't happen as much. And yes,
Yeah, right. It seems like maybe there's been some issues around the property, some neglect around it not being really fully owned and used. So to the extent it gets used again, it'll allow it to flourish in its rightful way, and deal with some of the side issues that are going on that may be of a concern to yours.
yes, yeah. And for now, I feel fully heard. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thanks, Christian.
So I think it's your turn to
Oh,
speak.
Mike.
You're the speaker,
Yes.
select who you'd like to have be your listener.
Oh, okay. I'll go with Christian. I'll go with Christian.
Okay.
Go back to you. We'll boomerang back, Christian.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about where I was picking up. So I think you guys really checked the boxes, a lot of things that I was of interest in it. But I just want to circle back. We were talking about just how to open people's mind and create better connections to people. And I think, yeah, just developing really good habits around listening and all those muscles that have atrophied over time. We need to sort of rebuild that awareness and the muscle memory around that. And it's a skill, and you need to use it. And I think people need to engage this as a practice, as a habit, as a hobby, if you will, to get better. This notion of like, there's a Japanese word called kaizen, this notion of continuous improvement. You want to get better all the time. You want to eliminate inefficiency and errors and get better and reduce your blind spots. So I think this could be a springboard for a lot of that, for self-improvement, better listening skills, better problem solving skills. I think a lot of people are highly opinionated. Hopefully people can reserve judgment and listen and hear arguments,
Okay.
not personalize things.
Pause. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, yeah.
So what I'm getting is that you're excited for the possibility of just having the open communication, and I heard the Kaizen. I forgot the quote, but the Kaizen.
Yes.
And you're very excited for the possibilities of just having people here and the community coming together and talking and solving problems.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, continue. Sorry. Yeah.
No, I'm glad you did. I ran on too far. Thank you. Keeping me in check there. So yeah, so again, I keep circling back to this idea. I think it's a great platform. There's an opportunity here to do something really special here, not only for the local community, but even broader, whether it's within the state or nationally or internationally, to the extent you guys have ambitions beyond that, as a retreat center, I don't know, not a think tank per se, but just sort of like a place where people come together to improve, to enhance what they're doing.
Right. So you're just excited about the retreat of people coming together and enhancing their listening skills, and because you say it gets atrophied and stuff, so you want people to just practice listening and talking it out.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Right.
Christian.
Okay, so it's my turn again.
Yes.
Yep, keep
Yeah,
going
I'll
for
pick
another half
Edwin.
hour. Okay, listening.
Okay, yeah. So I actually did get a chance to view a couple of the past empathy circles, and I did like some of the ideas that were talked about. Like I think somebody said using the kitchen as a food prep teaching type area, and maybe we can have some catering events in there and stuff to teach, but also supply the food for the guests, I guess.
So you did watch some of the previous empathy circles, and people came up with different ideas, and one of them was about the kitchen, using the kitchen. You're sort of liking that idea, how it could be used for, I think maybe training too, or
Yeah,
events.
something like that. Yeah, so and I also just I like this way of doing things because you're able to open up and talk about ideas and you know discussion and stuff like I think it's good coming up with stuff and yes.
Yeah, you appreciate this empathy circle process because it's creating a space for ideas to come up, and you can have a voice with your ideas and
Right,
have them
right.
be
Yeah.
heard, basically.
I do like the idea of maybe I don't know if the chapel I think the chapel is gonna stay, so maybe having weddings here and stuff. And if people aren't religious, they can always have it outside with a great view and maybe you can also rent out the rooms for people that are staying that night, depending on if there's a retreat that day or not. It could all be planned out.
So you're thinking of ideas of how the space could be used that people, if it could be, there could be weddings, and if people are not religious, it could be just outside on the lawn. And the
Right. Yeah,
rooms could
this place
also
is
be rented.
yeah. This place is so big, it has so many possibilities and if it's you running your center here, I think that would be great because people would learn the empathy circle while also just doing their retreat. So I think that's a great idea also.
So people could be doing retreats here, but they could be learning this empathy circle practice as
Yeah,
well.
people come and do retreats, but sometimes they just relax, don't really learn anything. I know when it was up and running, it was a religious type of retreat, so there was like quiet activities and you would read the Bible every now and then and walk around and just kind of have a little mass outside. But with this kind of retreat, I feel like with wellness and spirituality, I think it'll do well with what you're doing.
So with a wellness and spirituality type retreat, doing empathy trainings and listening trainings would work well with
Yeah,
that.
yes, yeah, I feel fully heard.
Okay, and I'll speak to Charles. Um, yeah, so far the community's been very open, not open, just open, but it's sort of excited about using the space for retreat center. It's been, totally positive uh, reaction, which feels really good, just knowing that there's real support for that.
So far, the community has been very supportive of using it as a retreat center, and everyone's been positive about it, and it makes you feel really good.
And it's also for generating ideas, like, it creates a space. If people can slow down, have a place where they can just speak freely about ideas, and for those ideas to be heard, it seems like they sort of bubble up into the space and then can sort of grow into fruition. Yeah.
So empathy circles are a good way for ideas to bubble up and become reality.
And you have slow internet. I'm gonna just turn that internet. I just turned my video off for better bandwidth. I like what Todd said about continuous improvement, because I do see that the listening is continuous improvement that can atrophy. So it is, doing these empathy circles, they can be done in schools, you can do it with your family, you can just do it in every environment. And it's only a first step sort of gateway practice to, more skill building. This is sort of the minimal viable process that I find for getting, listening skills started.
So you liked what Todd had to say about continuous improvement, and you feel this empathy circle listening is the beginning to a
Develop those
process,
skills, yeah.
a process of continual improvement.
And at first you asked me about running the place or managing it, and it's like, oh, I'm trying to work my way into it. But it's that we have these dialogues with the community, and everybody's so supportive. It's my sort of interest in that or commitment is growing.
So at first, when I asked you to maybe help out in running the place, you were a little overwhelmed, but as you talk to so many people who are supportive, it increases your interest in doing that.
And I would invite everyone interested, to share your ideas. And if you have a project you want to, turn into fruition here, some kind of workshop or some kind of a program or something, talk with us and we can build it into something.
So you would encourage anyone who's taking part in these circles to share their ideas for how the space can be used, or any workshop ideas or anything like that, and try
Yeah,
to
and
make
take the lead on it, take lead and bring it into fruition. Like Christian's talking about these sporting events so take that on as a project, for example.
So, for example, Christian was talking about sporting events, and he could take that on as a project.
Exactly, yeah. So take initiative, turn it into something. It's not just about us. It's like we want to work with the community. And
Yeah, we
yeah.
want to work with the community, and so if you have ideas and you think
And
you
also,
can,
yeah, and also check how they're going to be financially viable too. That's the other part of it. So it's like have good ideas, but also think of, the viability of it.
yes, if you have good ideas, think of the viability of it and how you can partner with us to help make it happen.
Yeah, I feel heard. Thanks, Charles.
Okay. Anybody want me to speak to them? Who wants to speak next?
You could speak to me. This is Dominique again.
Okay, Dominique.
I was late.
I don't really have anything else to add, so I'll turn over to you.
I just it's by chance I even found out about
Who are you speaking to, Dominic? You want to select someone?
Oh, who am I speaking to? I'm confused with the names. Charles, maybe? Charles, you were speaking last, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
You can select anyone you want. It's your choice.
Yeah, I know, but I'm so bad at names. My ADD is catching in. Anyway, I'm just the ideas of the
So who are you
retreat.
speaking to? There's Charles, Todd, Edwin, or Christian.
Edwin, that's
Okay,
you, isn't it?
I'm listening.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess whenever somebody mentioned financial viability, that always comes into play, and such. And somebody's mentioned weddings and sporting events to maybe get more activity in there. I believe I feel there's a lot of spirituality in there, and I'm excited, like everyone, to get going. I'm curious. I guess I'm curious how we are moving, how the plan is, if there will be actual meetings where people can attend. I'm positive that's going to happen. But I guess it moving forward, not being in the first 10, 15 minutes, I'm curious about spirituality. I mean, somebody mentioned, I don't know if you're religious based, or I guess it's a question more. and it's just it's not good or bad, your answer, but when I hear empathy, I think of the Bible. I have to admit. And so help me
Okay, so
understand.
you're trying to kind of make sense of things. How's it going forward? Is it religious based? When you hear empathy, it sounds religious to you.
Not that I have a problem with that.
And it's not an issue, yeah, but it's just
I'm curious. I'm curious. Actually, I brought this up to my sister actually lives down there, and I asked, are you folks gonna keep the cross? You don't have to answer that question. I find it's interesting with all the fires that have been in Santa Barbara over the last, I don't know, 15 years, that property hasn't been touched. So it's almost like you have this little microcosm of a protection there. And I'm just getting esoteric there, but I'm just so exciting. I guess I'm lost for words of you folks moving forward and such. But anyway.
yeah, I'm hearing you're lost for words about all, everything that's happening, and almost if there's a sort of a magical spiritual quality here that's protected the property from fire.
Yeah, there's been 3 that could have, Mount Calvary burnt down, and that was a tremendous loss. Those folks were very accommodating up there over the years, and so yeah, I guess getting the community involved is always difficult, as you know, and I guess when you do have events or whatever you plan, how do you plan on communicating? Via text, via what venue are you going to use, or your website? Maybe use your website as a communication device.
Mhm. So you're sad about the one
Well, Calvary was on the
burning down.
yeah, it was. If you look up, you could see 2 backhoes up there. Probably could see it from this property.
It was a
And
monastery. It was a monastery. It's right above me, actually. That's where I live. It's literally right above me.
You back there?
Yeah,
It's me. Yeah, exactly. I can see you guys.
Yeah.
I can look across the Rattlesnake Canyon and see you. It's actually being
Yeah,
developed by
okay.
somebody bought the property and is developing and building a house there actually as we speak.
So yeah, we don't want to do crosstalk though, just at this phase here. So yeah, so it's Mount Calvary. It burned down. It's really close. And then you're also wondering about the religious aspect of which you're open about. That's not like you're just curious.
Mhm.
And that was the time too, 4 minutes. So
Okay.
you feel hurt.
Lab.
I'll speak to Todd then. Yeah, in terms of, how do we communicate? That was the part I didn't reflect back. So in terms of communication with the community, we're starting with these empathy circles. So there's one every week right now for connecting with the community, and which has been a really great way to connect so far. So speaking to Todd.
I'm here.
Yeah, if you want to reflect that, I don't know if you heard it.
It broke up on me a little bit. I just heard something about interacting with the community and how amazing the community has been in terms of openness and awareness and acceptance of and excitement around building possibilities around what this could become and how it could serve the community at large.
Yeah, I think I was breaking up because our bandwidth is low here. So in terms of religion, I'm non-religious. Charles is, I'd say devout Christian.
What I heard is in terms of religion, it sounds like you are non-religious and Charles is Christian, but very much open to pretty much all walks of life and really non-denominated sort of, it sounds like
Yeah.
facility open to all philosophies, religions, perspectives. And that seems to be the recurring common denominator, which I think will please a lot of people, actually.
Yeah, and I've done interfaith dialogue, so the same process that we're doing, we've brought interfaith groups together, doing empathic dialogue. So it's very much about any kind of different communities to bring them together. There's nobody excluded. Let me just say that we don't exclude, be it social, political, whatever. It's non-exclusive.
What I'm hearing, if I heard you right, is that you're embracing true openness, all walks of life across religion, philosophy, views. The idea is to bring people together and to get diversity of thought, diversity of opinion, diversity of perspective. And I think that will be highly welcoming from the community.
And yeah, so I'm still muted. Let's see, without what else? So yeah, I think I feel fully heard with that. So if you want to speak, select your listener, Todd.
Oh, sure. Let's see. I'll pick Charles, I guess, this time around.
Okay.
And I'll just build on what you said. I think it's very exciting to be a true open platform, open, it's like open architecture in the technology world. A lot of really interesting things can happen when you are open. So I think I'm very excited about that, as most people are. I'm interested to hear, what the next steps forward are for you guys and what you're looking for in terms of engagement from people who want to make an impact. Your timeline on things, and maybe even what your first events might be and how those may get rolled out. So that's what's on top of mind for me right now.
Okay, so you're interested in knowing what our timeline is for getting things rolling, and our plans, what events we might be holding.
Yes, absolutely. And it's I think you're gonna have no short of interest in the community. This community is very collaborative and very involved. So I think you're only limited by the size of your potential ability to handle the capacity here, it seems. Both direct community here and larger Santa Barbara. That's really what's top of mind for me right now. So I'll just close there.
Okay, I'll choose Dominique. Well, right now, the sisters' residence and the faculty's residence was renovated by the previous owner. Do you want to reflect that?
So what I heard you say is the sisters area has been renovated by a previous owner.
Yes. And the dormitory, it was partially demolished inside, but that needs to be renovated. We've engaged the architect who worked on the faculty and sisters residences to kind of come up with a plan for renovating the dormitories. So the process would be, she's going to present us with a proposal, which should be, I think, this week sometime, and some ideas on room layouts. We wanted kind of rooms with their own bathrooms, because right now they were kind of communal bathrooms with little cubby holes for the seminarians. You want to reflect that?
So the dormitory was demolished, or maybe stripped, and you need to remodel that, and you're planning on engaging the person that did the nuns. I didn't.
Yeah, there was a sister's residence, right?
Okay.
I guess the nuns did the cooking and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Then there was a faculty where I think the priests and the educators lived.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna be redoing the dormitory and putting individual bathrooms with the bedrooms rather than having it more communal, like hostile, like, or not like European hostels, or like, and so you're going to engage the same person that did the sisters area to do that.
Right. And so there was also a library and classroom building that I guess it wasn't permitted for dwelling spaces, but they turned it into dwelling cubicles without permits. And so the architect is going to look into the feasibility of turning that into dwellings. I mean, separate rooms, but with permitting and everything, I'm not exactly sure if that will be possible.
So I hear permitting of the library to change it from something that was done without permit, and maybe cubbies or cubicles where people dwelled, into permitting to create more of a dwelling versus maybe a cubicle, to create more, looking into the feasibility of what you can do with that space in the library to create more living dwellings. Did I hear you right?
Right. You were asking maybe what my kind of religious views are. I'm a Christian. Kind of what you would call a universalist, because I believe everyone will eventually be saved. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Okay. So I hear that you are a universalist Christian, and everybody can be saved.
And will be.
Will be saved.
And if you want
Well,
to understand that better, you can always talk to me, I guess, later.
Mhm.
So I feel heard. It's your turn to speak. Choose who you're going to talk to.
Okay. Man, again, I'm so sorry. The gentleman with Star Wars. What is your name?
Christian.
Christian. Okay, I'm so sorry. I always say I'm going to remember names better. And it looks like you're in a classroom.
I'm in the library right now.
Oh, you are in the library. Okay, I was
The one I
wondering
was
if you
talking
were
about.
up there because you pointed back around you for where Mount Calvary was. And so, well, let me ask you, I mean, are you going to be living there, or are you going to be the caretaker, or I guess any of Charles or Edwin or Christian, or my guess is somebody's going to be living there. Is that correct?
So what you're saying right now is you're wondering if I live here, who's living here right now?
Yeah, I'm just
Basically,
curious.
thinking.
Well, maybe nobody lives there right now because it's only been a little over a month. However, I guess I'm curious if, my guess is, will there be a caretaker, a live-in caretaker, or a family that caretakes?
So you're just curious to see if there's going to be a caretaker here,
Yeah.
right? If there is one now, or will there be?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is a question that I got. It wasn't my question, but will the neighborhood be able to use the trails? It's a lot of acreage, and I don't even know. I haven't been on the trails for, like I said earlier, decades. Will that be something that's allowed?
So what you want to know is if the community will be able to access the trails.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
because Schofield Park is right across the street, and so in fact, I was walking in Schofield last week, and and that's how I saw that came up out to the street, and that's how I noticed the gate was open and such. And so, yeah, I guess I'm just full of a lot of questions. I think it's beautiful that the goal is to get people talking to each other, because people don't talk. And
Right. So you have a lot of questions. You were very excited that you saw the gate open and that you just want people to talk.
yeah,
Yeah.
people don't seem to talk. We've
Oh.
become one with the cell phone, and
Yeah.
we forget about individuals, humans all around us, and it's the cell phone always.
Right. So the problem is a cell phone and you want people to talk. And I agree with that.
Believe I've been heard.
Do you feel like you've been heard?
I think I've been. Yep.
Good, good. Well, it's good that you chose me because I'll pick Edwin.
Listening.
So it's good that she chose me because I'm actually the caretaker right here right now. My family from the previous owner was asked a little over a year ago if we could live there. So we've been living here for about a year. My parents have. I help them out. You know, usually I come here every other day to help them out. But that's what we've been doing. That's why sometimes you see the gate open. And so right now we're the caretakers.
So you're just clarifying that you're the caretakers and you and your family have been here for caretaking for about a year.
Yes, and we also do the landscaping and fire prevention here. So if you ever see us take down the grass on the side of the hills, that's probably us. And about the trails, we asked about the trails, and the previous owner said not to like upkeep them, so they're probably not really well built to walk right now. But if that's something that needs to be done, we could trim it down.
The previous owners had said they didn't want the trails to be kept up, but if that was kind of requested, that could be done.
Yeah, and I guess that's all I can answer, so I feel fully heard. Yeah.
Okay, then I'll speak to Todd. Yeah, in terms of the trails, I didn't really know about sort of general walking trails here. I know there's Rattlesnake Canyon trails where most people go, so not that familiar. Charles and I did do some little trails here. They're very overgrown.
Okay, if I heard you correctly, you're still making an assessment of the trail situation. There definitely are trails on Rattlesnake Canyon. There may be some trails that are of use on the property itself, probably overgrown at the moment, unusable. So you have to take another look at that to see the viability of that, it sounds like.
Yeah, and in terms of the space, there's, I think about four, oh, I'm gonna turn my video off because of the bandwidth issue here. In terms of the space, there's about 14 rooms, bedrooms, usable bedrooms at the moment that are usable, that need furnishings. So that's something that needs to be, sort of built out. And then there's multiple meeting rooms too that could be used, pretty quickly.
Okay, if I'm hearing you right, there's the capacity about 14 at the moment need refurbishing. You also have numerous meeting rooms that could be used, and you're reassessing usage of all of that, whether it should be expanded or refurbished. How to put everything to its highest and best use, it sounds like.
Exactly. And then the dormitories at 7-8 months at least, for renovating that. Things always take longer. So there's that. And under the chapel is a big meeting space that's been used for storage. All kinds of furniture and things are stored under there. So it wouldn't take too much to fix that up.
Sounds like there's still taking a look at the dormitory and the capacity there. And interestingly, the chapel's got some meeting room underneath it, currently used as storage, and obviously could be renovated or used in a different manner going forward. the extent it's needed.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're doing right now, yesterday, Charles and I and Jose, Christian's father, were moving furniture out of there, starting to sort it, seeing about getting a dumpster to get rid of, most of it, to make, and then be able to paint and clean up the area under sort of a multi-purpose room, meeting rooms under the chapel.
So it sounds like you're in the process of, again, moving out a lot of the stuff that was in there for storage and seeing sort of what's there and how it's going to be put to a higher and better use. Again, just sort of cleaning out unused area space and figuring out the blueprint going forward.
And as soon as this call is over, we're going to go over there and move some more furniture. Do some more cleaning. Charles and Christian, will probably go over there with Jose. But it's not as hard as I thought it was. I think it's all very doable.
Sounds like it's not. It's all surmountable, and it just takes some effort. And maybe not as difficult as you once thought, and the process is moving along, and we'll get better assessment of things going forward pretty soon, given the progress you're making.
And we're dividing the furniture into stuff to be thrown out, into something that could be given away or sold, or if anybody's interested in furniture, come check with us, come up. There's a bit, and then also there's a lot of old electronics. So I was looking for a recycling center. If there's a electronic waste center, to get rid of that. A lot of old TVs and monitors and stuff. So if you know anything about a recycling center, for electronic waste, love to know about that.
Sounds like what you've discovered in terms of content there. Again, category of furniture that you're thinking about, either donating to charity or selling or repurposing, and then seeking out some direction on electronic waste for some older electronic equipment, how to best recycle that and dispose of.
Yeah, so we're doing a lot of the nuts and bolts stuff right now, just to really just clear everything out, so everything's kind of stripped down to the bare bones, so it can be painted or new carpeting in some of the areas, and it wouldn't take too long if someone has ideas for workshops or even maybe some kind of a community event in the cafeteria, to bring the community in for maybe doing in-person empathy circles and then overall discussions. That would be a possibility too.
It's great. It sounds like you're already have some ideas about maybe an opening event to the community and bringing people in to introduce them to the empathy circle and sort of showing them what this place can be, a vision of around what it was, what it is now, what it could be, and it's going to take group effort. So I think that's a great launching pad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel fully heard. So do you want to select the listener, or maybe we'll just do one if you want to just speak to someone, then we'll
open it up for.
Yeah, let's open it up for just general discussion then. So without reflection can on about an hour, so that's a good amount of time for that. So any sort of direct questions, comments, just let it fly.
I do think it's a great idea
What's that?
I think it's a great idea that after we do a couple of these Zoom empathy circles, if we do a couple in the cafeteria area in person, because there is nothing like meeting in person and talking in person.
I'd agree with that. I think it's an excellent idea. And just getting together and introducing people in real time and just having some level of interaction around brainstorming or to the extent you want idea generation.
And then there's no bandwidth problem in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the internet, this is convenient where you just happen to be here for about a week, and then we'll be in the Bay, I'll be in the Bay Area. And so the circles are really good, but I think in about another month, we'll be coming down for another week. So maybe in a month or 2 months to have a community meeting would be something to think about.
Mhm.
You had a lot of questions, Dominique. Anything directly to ask?
Yeah, I've been thinking, I guess, yeah, since I'm going to be swinging back and forth for the next year, between a couple states, I guess my question, I don't really, I'm going to pass on some of these questions like electronic waste, because I live in a big city and one hopes that there's electronic waste, and it looks like there's a bunch of school chairs and stuff in there. And I think I guess it's not, I don't really have questions so much as it sounds, what I heard somebody say, there's going to be some refurbishment in the next 7 to 8 months. So do you have a date? Do you have a date that, or are you going to incrementally do things and not really have a grand opening, just incrementally open and do things? Because it sounds like there's going to be ongoing remodeling and things going on for the next 8 months, and which could stretch to maybe a year. Do you have kind of a timeline?
Well, there are these rooms that have already been renovated. We just need to get some furniture and get them ready. Then we could do some small scale events for, just smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so in terms of a grand opening, maybe it's a sort of an iterative, slowly doing little workshops or events, and then maybe once the renovations are done, have some sort of a grand opening event or something like that. So, kind of ease into it. But it is, we're sort of still discussing that. We have other people that we're talking with about it, getting their ideas. So it's like, we have the general direction where these circles, these dialogues are really helpful, to just start generating ideas. It was great to hear, Christian, your ideas, about the space that, you've, about the gym, how that could be used. So, we're kind of coming into it, just a couple months now that we've been at this. So we're really sort of starting to form the plans, connect with the community, ease into it, kind of come to agreements and stuff like that between each other even.
I just was curious. I'm sure this could be premature given the stage you're in, but I'm just curious if, in terms of the plumbing, not actual plumbing, but sort of metaphorically speaking, like things around building a website and or email lists to go after targeted parties in the community or even beyond it. Curious if you guys have already begun that process, or is that later, in terms of outreach and maybe tapping into the nonprofit community here, which is huge, as you know. Like I think on a per capita basis, Santa Barbara's amongst the highest in the country. A lot of resources, a lot of really well-connected people to tap into and leverage.
Well, in terms of a website, right, I just created a Google site, canoascenter.com, just to have some place that was easy to go to.
Oh, great.
And that's, if you go to canoascenter.com, there's, just some photographs, and it's more about the introduction to the empathy circle there, and sort of a gateway for any community member to go check that out. So I imagine that will sort of grow into the website. It's sort of the seed of it. We're still looking at the name, maybe have some ideas. Even the name is sort of open right now. Charles likes Valinor, so I'm curious what you think about that. And he can maybe describe what Valinor, what the name even means.
Yeah, I kind of like the name Valinor. I think it's kind of bold and strong sounding. It's from Tolkien. It's the undying lands, kind of the elvish heaven, where when they leave Middle Earth, they go across the sea to Valinor, and kind of like heaven on earth kind of idea of Valinor.
I like it.
Yeah, me coming from the empathy center, I'm thinking, oh, let's call it the empathy center to kind of make it make that be the center. So, we're discussing throwing the names out. Other people have come up with other names. If you have some ideas, the thing is, Valinor, the domain name's already been taken. So, we'd have to be Valinor or something else, yeah, for a domain name. So, yeah.
Valinor Canoas?
Canoas Valinor.
Canoas Valinor?
Not bad, not bad.
It's got
Rattlesnake Valinor.
sort of a mystical sound to it, actually.
I did get the domain name Valinor Santa Barbara.
Just in case, that's not bad.
So you can see we're still working on that kind of, the naming, the website, and then you mentioned the email list, so you're on it. It's right now the email list is the people who have kind of reached out. I think we have and so we'll create a newsletter, maybe with one of these services, Constant Contact or MailChimp or something. Start sending out a newsletter to keep people informed. I do send out an email with after we do these calls, I send out an email to everyone that was interested, and we'll have something where people can subscribe, unsubscribe. Having done the Empathy Center for almost 15 years, have a big email list, large Facebook community, about 30,000 people on that Facebook. So I have a large community and emails around the empathy circle and the empathy work. We're sort of merging that with the center, and then right now we're holding empathy circles with just the Santa Barbara immediate community to hear. And I'll set up a second empathy circle series for the kind of the empathy community and the larger community in general, kind of that anyone can join. But these Monday circles are for just the Santa Barbara, more or less, community. And you're welcome to attend more of them. Bring your friends, anyone you think that might be interested and has any questions or comments. So I think the next one next week is full, but then we have future ones that have space. So do invite friends.
I have a question regarding, and it just popped in my head because where I live, and I never knew about it, and it's not very well known, and maybe it could get maybe dirty, or that's maybe the wrong word, but children, people under the age of 18 are, I don't know the history of the empathy circles, but what's your perspective on engaging children, or maybe being a resource? Well, I don't, that's the wrong word.
That's one
Okay.
possibility.
Okay. I had missed that. Yeah. Okay.
That basketball gym is great. I think it would be
Oh,
great.
it's a great gym. Yeah.
I might
It's a little
add.
dusty. It's probably still good to use right now. It's just a little dusty.
Dusty.
The
Yeah.
gym.
Well, everything gets dusty up there. Yeah.
My connection's poor here, but I didn't hear all of that. But we've done family empathy circles. So Charles and his family, or our extended, family relatives, we've done empathy circles. Charles has 4 kids. Some of them have done empathy circles too. So we're promoting it in the schools too, as a way for students to learn listening and dialogue and relational skills. So that's that component. Then there's just all kinds of activities too that are very doable. And I think the architect, for example, is on the board of some youth-based or nonprofits, and she was going to connect with them to, see how they could perhaps use the space. Okay, if may come to a close then, unless you have anything else. Want to be sure everything got the.
Nothing for me.
Okay. Charles,
Thank you very much.
So just a final comment, how was the experience of the empathy circle and the discussion? Christian, you want to say something?
I feel like it was pretty productive, spitting out ideas and listening and stuff. I feel like it's a great way to communicate.
Dominique?
Yeah, I think it's great. I have to admit, I wish there were more people at the meeting, but you can't make people do things. And but I think it's great. The Zoom makes it more personable. And of course, as Christian said, to have these meetings in person would be even a nice accompaniment.
I'll just mention that the empathy circles is usually 4 to 6 people. So it's
Oh, okay.
actually the
Oh,
whole
okay.
idea. We could have had a lot more. It's just it gives you a lot more time to share your ideas. So yeah, so this is by design. It's by design. So Todd?
Yeah, I think it's a great format. Thank you for hosting and for the outreach. I think it's a great format for just connecting with people and listening and brainstorming and
retreat center.
Okay, you broke up there, so I didn't hear your part, Charles, but I want to thank everyone for taking part. I really enjoy this as a way to meet the community, and I just all the insights and humanity that everyone shares. I just really appreciate it, especially Todd, your interest in dialogue and listening, and just very articulate and about that. So really feels good that there's other supporters for this sort of way of being. So I really appreciate that. And Dominic, that you're right here in the area, and all your questions. So I'm putting together a list of all the questions people have, and we'll just kind of flesh those out with some written answers to have that be on the website. So thanks for taking part, and hope to see you in future circles. You're welcome, and let your friends and other community members know about it, and we'll just keep the dialogue going and start actualizing some of these ideas as well. So thanks a lot.
Great. Thank you both. Thank
Thank you.
everyone. Great to meet you all.
All right, nice to meet you all.
Okay.
Look forward to next
Bye for
time.
now.
Feel free to reach out if you need anything. Take care.
I'll
Right,
I'll
will
see
do.
y'all later.
Adios.
Yes.